Stalker is a franchise that just won't die. Even when the IP got thrown into development hell, the fanbase kept it alive. Mods, fan projects, and an endless discussion kept Stalker on life support long enough for Stalker 2 to finally happen. The original trilogy is cherished for its hardcore gameplay, deep lore, and haunting atmosphere. It's a world that pulls you in, full of danger, mystery, and faction warfare. With its mix of survival horror and political intrigue, Stalker cemented itself as a defining piece of gaming history. But this doesn't mean the games were perfect. Stalker had this charm that just made it unironically funny. Goofy bugs, inconsistent AI that felt like you're up against special forces, only to then completely turn into the dumbest motherfuckers in the zone. It's not a bug, they say, but a feature. The first game is regarded as the best in the franchise, and Call of Pripyat is a solid sequel. But, just like life, the middle child is usually ignored. Clear Sky is branded as the worst game in the franchise by some. Even my own brother said it wasn't a good game but didn't elaborate. He only told me that I will find out why within the first hour of the game. This intrigued me. Why is Clear Sky regarded as the worst? What makes this game so bad? I had to find out. So I downloaded it and sank 20 hours in my first playthrough. And the experience was something else. Clear Sky is easily one of the hardest and most unforgiving games I've ever played. It feels like the zone is fighting against you and it entices you to uninstall and just move on to Call of Pripyat. This was a predicament that I found myself in, so I left a poll on my YouTube channel and the people spoke. So since I'm a man of my word, I stuck with it. I dug in and learned all the mechanics of the game. Whilst I was doing that, I save scummed every opportunity I got because it felt like this game was impossible to beat it without it. Clear Sky is a different kind of beast. It encourages experimentation and for you to be aware of your surroundings so that you can take advantage of every opportunity you find yourself in. Once I finally got the hang of things, I started to realise everything I've heard about this game was wrong. Clear Sky is far from perfect, but it's in my opinion the perfect Stalker experience. Before I elaborate on that, let's begin this game's story. Just like Shadow of Chernobyl, Clear Sky begins with a cutscene introducing the protagonist. His call sign is Scar.
Ooh, you're odd.
He's a freelance mercenary who looks like he's pushing 50, but it turns out he's a young man.
I'm glad to see you, young man.
I guess the zone must have aged him quite a bit. But he's no ordinary stalker. He's a veteran who knows this place very well. But not only that, he's a killer. So he uses his skills to earn a living. His morals are in the grey area. He will work with whatever faction pays him well, so the only colours he cares about are whatever's on the ruble. Right now, he's been hired as a guide and he's currently leading a group of scientists through the swamps. An incredibly dangerous area filled with the worst kind of mutants, and it's also a minefield of anomalies. But right now, the only thing concerning Scar is the sky. He's predicting an emission, but the scientists reassure him.
In actual fact, we have nothing to worry about. According to our research, the next emission will not occur for at least 2 months, 4 days and 7 hours.
Despite their confidence in their research, the zone is starting to become more unpredictable, and the scientists are about to witness this firsthand. With nowhere to hide, the emission wipes them all out. And that was Clear Sky. Thanks for watching. Somehow, Scar has managed to survive the blowout. This was all thanks to a nearby faction that is unknown to the zone. Even they are surprised how he's still alive.
I must say I have never seen anything like this before. The encephalogram suggests serious damage to the nervous system, but the other indicators couldn't be better. It's astounding.
Through analysing the damage, they can see that his nervous system is severely damaged, but he appears to be okay. Plot armour perhaps? Maybe. He wakes up the next morning and someone from this unknown faction greets him.
Welcome back to the world of the living, Stalker. How are you feeling?
His name is Lebedev. He's the leader of this faction. They call themselves Clear Sky. This group has stationed their base in the swamps, the perfect area to avoid being discovered. They like to remain a secret from other factions as their fighting capabilities are very limited. They do, however, possess some very advanced technology. But at the end of the day, they're a group of independent researchers, not soldiers. Some are trained to fight, but avoiding any form of conflict is ideal for them. But what makes them different from the ecologists? Well, since the ecologists are government funded and are trained in combat, they often collect artifacts and have turf wars against other factions. They also have to protect their research from mercenaries, which is an event that happened in Shadow of Chernobyl. Clear Sky has no interest in seeking fortune or fighting. They are simply here to understand the zone. It could potentially be a massive threat to humanity, but also there could be wondrous things inside. They are trying to learn how to coexist with it. Their ideology sits in between duty and freedom, but what sets them apart is that Clear Sky only fights when they have to, and since violence is a common occurrence, the swamp has been the perfect place for them to continue their research without being noticed. They do, however, keep in contact with a few loners and guides, but they keep a tight circle. Some of the Clear Sky recruits were even former Stalkers. Scar has been their latest run-in with the outside world, and they want to keep things quiet.
Let me fill you in on this situation. You're in the Clear Sky base. Don't try to remember who we are. You've never heard of us, and there's a very good reason for that. Our mission is to research the zone. We believe that the zone must be studied and understood so that humanity knows what it is facing here.
Though Clear Sky is a fairly large group, only Lebedev and Bimpalev know what the research is actually for. Their group trusts them both a lot and carry orders without question, but some do wonder what the hell they're even doing.
Спору нет, начальству виднее. А все же хочется иногда узнать, ради чего мы все это.
Talking with Professor Bimpalev, it gives us a solid idea on just how much they know about the zone, because somehow he's aware that this place was created by man.
We are studying the zone meticulously in hopes of finding it. The zone appeared as a result of the actions, let's call them misguided human actions, and we are unable to return to the status quo. The zone cannot be destroyed, nor will it disappear of its own accord. We, Clear Sky, believe that there is only one way to reconcile man with the zone: coexistence.
I wonder how he knows that. He obviously knows a lot more than he's leading on, but doesn't elaborate. Once Lebedev has finished talking with us, we can finally step outside and get some fresh air. And wow, Clear Sky is beautiful. For a game that released in 2008, the graphics really hold up. This is all thanks to its lighting. Most of the textures are the same but are more high definition, but the lighting is what really carries this game visually. I know graphics aren't everything, but I wasn't expecting Clear Sky to look this good. Even nighttime looks amazing. Even though you can't see shit without a flashlight, the realistic lighting made it immersive, and I loved watching gunfights go down. What made this even better was the lightning storms. What a beautiful sight. Before the graphics distract us, Lebedev calls us over for a conversation. So we throw him a few questions. It's here we learn that the emission that almost killed us was abnormal. It was the strongest emission ever recorded. But that's not what fascinates him. It's the fact that this emission has altered the zone, spawning in new clusters of anomalies, spewed out a ton of radiation, and has opened up new areas that were previously unreachable. This event has kickstarted a turf war between all the factions. This concerns him, as there's a possible chance that this event will unravel their secrecy. This is where Lebedev offers us to assist him. He's not giving us a position in Clear Sky, but instead buying Scar's services. Right now, one of their outposts is being attacked by mutants. Since their fighting capabilities are limited, he hires us to go clean up the mess. Meeting with the guide, we get blindfolded before we leave, because obviously they still don't trust Scar. And I mean, look at him, does he look like a trustworthy man? We are now finally free. The current objective is to save whatever's left of a Clear Sky squad at an outpost. We're about to face our biggest challenge here. This territory is unknown to Scar, so whatever is lurking through the murky swamps is a complete mystery. We are stepping into the unknown. Nah, I'm just kidding, it's just a couple of boars. But it really shows you just how pathetic Clear Sky's fighting capabilities are. They lost an outpost to a few boars, and there's just one survivor left cowering on top of the tower.
Run for the tower! The monsters can't get you there!
We climb up to him for a chit chat until a sudden emission kills us both. Oh right, Scar somehow survived a second blowout, placing him into a coma yet again. Man, that is some thick fucking plot armor. But this is where Scar's luck ends. Despite showing superhuman abilities, the next emission will no doubt kill him unless he seeks shelter. This is a brand new feature to Clear Sky, one that I will touch on a bit later because I have a few words about this, good and bad. We ask Lebedev what could possibly be causing the sudden increase in emissions, and he tells us exactly what he thinks could be the cause.
I didn't think so until the large emission. Hell, nobody thought so. However, if you consider the emissions to be a defensive reaction, then the answer is obvious. Someone made it through the Scorcher, and the emission was the zone's response. And since the emissions haven't stopped, whoever it was must still be alive. The zone is trying to get them, and it's killing everything that's alive in the process.
He believes the emissions are a defense mechanism to prevent Stalkers from reaching the center of the zone, aka the Chernobyl nuclear power plant. So the increase in emissions means somebody has found a way to reach the center, that person being Strelok. Yeah, I haven't stated this yet, Clear Sky is a prequel. It takes place before the event of Strelok losing his memory. He and his crew have found a way past the brain scorcher and are continuously exploiting this blind spot. The emissions are a result of this. It's trying to kill whoever is trying to enter the CMPP, and this leads into the plot of this game. Scar must track down Strelok and his crew. He must do whatever means necessary to prevent them from reaching the centre of the zone in order to save it. But this isn't the only reason. Scar basically has no other choice. If he's caught in the middle of an emission, it's certain death, and with how unpredictable they're becoming, time isn't a luxury no more. But let's briefly go back to this geezer for a second. Just how much do Clear Sky know? An emission is usually caused by a massive buildup of energy from the noosphere and is then discharged into the zone. But Lebedev is convinced that the increase in blowouts is a defense mechanism, and he's not wrong. We learned this in Shadow of Chernobyl. They can control this energy and use it as a weapon if the brain scorcher fails to do its job. With how sussy Clear Sky is becoming, they request Scar's help with something else. Before we head off to Cordon, we must help Clear Sky fight off a faction who have just entered the swamps. Due to the recent emission, a new path has just opened up leading into the swamps. This is where the game introduces faction wars. It's a big feature to Clear Sky, and we now have the option to join the fight for land. I will go into great detail about this later, as the swamps are more of a starter area for the player to learn the game. The faction that just entered the swamps are also brand new to Clear Sky. They call themselves Renegades, but in reality they're just bandits. There's no lore to these guys, they're just dickheads.
Blow this, cocksucker!
The only weapons they carry are shotguns, Viper 5s and a PM pistol. So they should be complete pushovers, right? Right? Yeah, I wasn't kidding when I said this game was incredibly unforgiving. So unforgiving in fact, that it felt like this game was made for masochists. I was stuck in the swamps for 2 hours. When GSC were making this game, I imagined they sat at their desks and wondered what kind of changes could they make to ruin our lives. First they nerfed medkits, forcing the player to carry a lifetime supply of bandages. If you're stuck in the middle of nowhere, pray you don't get a bleed, because a stray bullet is going to make you leak blood until you've patched it up. So I hope your last save wasn't too far back. They also increased the amount of enemies there are in the game, which does make sense because there's an ongoing turf war, but it feels like every time you get into a fight, you're up against a firing squad. AI overall feels a lot more accurate too, including the bandits with a 0.3 blood alcohol level. GSC must have also thought grenades were too powerful in Shadow of Chernobyl, so they went on to significantly nerf them in Clear Sky.
Look how they massacred my boy.
But what makes this worse is that this change doesn't apply to the AI. Fucking hell, I can't outrun this fucking nade. They looked at World War and thought, you know what, we should implement this. If AI get a whiff that you're in a position to be obliterated by a grenade, any of them will take advantage of this. So if multiple AI see this, be sure that they will nuke you. Then GSC also threw in emissions that could happen at any moment. If you're not close to a faction base, then it's GG to that save file. But all of that is nothing in comparison to this. This one thing in particular is one of the main reasons why 99% of the players rage quit this entry, and it's why it's branded as the worst in the franchise. The guns in Clear Sky are broken. Every weapon in this game has awful accuracy. Pistols don't pistol, rifles don't rifle, and shotguns don't fucking shotgun. Basically, this is what you do. Place your sights on a bandit's noggin, and then you let the RNG gods take the wheel. Bullets fly in completely random patterns, which is why everyone else but you feels like aimbotters. Even bandits made me feel like I was fighting Monolith again. There's even a video on YouTube that explains why the weapons of Clear Sky are broken. This is why the first section of this game is really hard, because you're stuck with using pistols and shotguns, forcing you to close the distance, and with zero cover around and with water that slows you down to a crawl, getting close wasn't exactly easy. Clear Sky, for this reason alone, is why it's the hardest out of the original trilogy. Any Stalker game on Master is the true way of playing the game, as it makes it a serious challenge whilst actually balancing the game too. You can die in just a few shots, but so can the enemy. No other difficulty does this. If you lower it, you're actually making the enemies a lot more bullet spongy. But on Master, you can basically kill almost anyone with a single headshot, but that also applies to you too. But Clear Sky completely screws with this, because getting headshots is pretty much down to luck. There are mods that fix majority of the issues this game has, and that includes all of the guns. But I'm not a coward. If the game was designed this way, then that's how I'm going to play it, even if it kills me. But what if I told you that the guns being broken, so to speak, is actually both the best and worst thing about this game? Now, can we all agree with what I'm about to say? Shadow of Chernobyl got a bit too easy towards the end of the game once you get a good gun for headshots. Pretty much all you had to do was find some decent cover from a distance, lean around the corner and just start headshotting everything in sight. You didn't really need a sniper rifle since the GP37, Sniper TRS and even the SG were just as accurate. Yeah, they didn't have the damage quite like a sniper, but on Master it was more than enough. The assault rifles in Clear Sky are no longer the jack of all trades like they were in Shadow of Chernobyl. A lot of the weapons in the first game were pretty trash, and once you had secured one of these rifles, all you needed was armor piercing ammo. That isn't the case anymore. Assault rifles are only good in close to mid range now. If you want more range, use a sniper. If you want a bit of balance, use an assault rifle. SMGs are still pretty shit if I'm honest, but they're not completely useless. One big change they made in Clear Sky is the removal of the second weapon sling, meaning you will now have to rely on your primary weapon. The first game basically allows you to have a weapon for any situation. so you were ready for any encounter, which in my opinion made the game a lot easier. Clear Sky encourages you to think about what kind of playstyle you want to focus on, as you will not be able to do everything like you could do in the first game. But if all the guns are complete dog shit, then how are you even able to compete? Don't worry, GSC have thought about this. Kinda. There's a brand new feature that will greatly influence your playstyle, and that is the ability to upgrade your weapon. You are now able to improve the stats on any weapon of your choice. That could either be the accuracy, fire rate, magazine capacity, handling, recoil, and even add attachments. Though one important thing to keep in mind is that you can't upgrade everything, so you really have to think about what kind of weapon you want it to be. Weapons are not the only thing you can upgrade, however. Now you can upgrade any suit of armour, and this will also influence your playstyle. I like to think that there are 3 categories of armour in Clear Sky: heavy, medium and light. Heavy armour will have some of the best bullet resistant stats, whilst light armour will have some of the best anomaly resistant stats, and the medium armour is in the sweet spot. You would think heavy armour is a no-brainer since you do fight large groups of enemies, but there is one change that will make you seriously consider what kind of stalker you want to be. In Shadow of Chernobyl, you were able to equip 5 artifacts. In Clear Sky, it's now 0.
What? No, dude!
Each armour in this game has their own amount of artifact slots. The more bullet resistant it is, the less artifact slots it has. And obviously, it's the other way around if you want more slots for artifacts. The suit of armour I opted for was the Bulat armoured suit. This suit of armour was actually nerfed in this game, but it does have the highest bullet resistant stat. Excluding the exoskeleton, you still can't sprint with this. Fuck the exoskeleton. I fully upgraded this suit for maximum protection against bullets, and to be honest, it was pretty good, until the AI used grenades instead. The Bulat has an awful elemental resistance, but honestly, who needs that when you have quick saves anyway? It also only has 2 artifact slots. This wasn't a big deal for me as I only used endurance and radiation protection. I tried to get artifacts for bleeding resistance, but those don't fucking work. If you want 5 slots, then you would need a fully upgraded saber suit. And as I said before, the medium armour is in the middle. The best of both worlds, or should I say. But first, if you want upgrades, then you're going to need money. A lot of it. And there are many ways you can earn it. Either through scavenging for weapons to sell, or by carrying out missions for factions, or by seeking artifacts. Unlike the first game, you won't find them just randomly lying around. I always found it weird how sought after artifacts were in the first game, but like, how do you put a price tag on something that is as common as an empty beer can in your local UK park? In Clear Sky, you have to put in the work to obtain artifacts. They now spawn right in the middle of anomalies, ones that will make you rage quit. Artifact hunting is basically a minigame now. You have to dive into the deep end if you want to reap the rewards. But it gets worse. Artifacts are completely invisible until you've gotten in within range for it to appear. Don't worry though, there's a tool that will assist you, one that is now a staple in the franchise. Let me introduce you to the artifact detector. The first one is given to you by Clear Sky, and this one sucks. I instead saved up enough money to buy the Velis detector, and this one shows you exactly where the artifact is, completely removing the fun and challenge of hunting these things. But at least I got rich, so who cares? Artifacts are actually worth a lot more in Clear Sky, which gives you the incentive to seek these for money. Money in Clear Sky is far more important as there are many ways to use it and to make your character stronger. You can make any weapon of your choice viable. Well, almost. Theoretically, you can make some of the worst weapons from Shadow Chernobyl viable in Clear Sky, right? Well, no. Guns like the L85 will remain dogshit regardless of its upgrades. Upgrading some weapons makes them pretty strong, while the rest still feel completely useless. When people say the guns in this game are broken, I disagree. I just think the new weapon system is poorly designed. Some upgrades basically restore weapons to their former selves, while others are clearly meta. I think this is down to how you obtain the weapons in general. The early game weapons are meant to be bad. It encourages you to seek better ones later into the game, which is a system I loved from Shadow Chernobyl, and this system is still applied in Clear Sky. While the upgrade system helps improve the early game weapons, this can easily be ignored since you can obtain powerful weapons pretty early. For example, I picked a VSS off a loner's body after their base was attacked in Agrippon. Oh, that's a VSS. Why was there just a VSS on the floor? No. And I sank all of my money into this, which carried me to the ending. I tried different guns in my second playthrough, and I can confidently tell you that the VSS is easily the best weapon in the game. Now, in my previous Stalker video, I made a grave mistake. By overlooking this gun, I didn't give it a chance, and I ranked it B in my weapon tier list. So I'm correcting it here. This gun is S tier, in both Clear Sky and Shadow of Chernobyl. Overall, the gameplay of Clear Sky in many ways surpasses Shadow of Chernobyl, as it actually feels like a real RPG. You can shape Scar into the Stalker you want him to be, either a sniper or an artifact fueled gunzerker. The game gives you a lot of options, and this gives Clear Sky a lot of replay value, but there is one more thing that will influence your playstyle even further, and that's faction wars, but more on this later. Now where were we? Oh yeah, the swamps. This area kinda sucks, but in a good way. Unlike Shadow of Chernobyl's starting area, the swamp is an unforgiving reminder that you're indeed playing a Stalker game.
You're a Nazi!
Nazi? And believe me, it only gets worse from this point onwards. Oh my fucking god, mate. Clear Sky's starting area is equivalent to being dropped in the middle of Kaled. But instead of nightmarish creatures, you're fighting raging alcoholics. Which is worse, you decide. There are a few places to explore, but they will be filled with bandits. This is where the game teaches you how the faction war mechanic works. In order to save Clear Sky, we must clear our outposts and gain control of certain areas. But one thing I absolutely dreaded about clearing outposts was what came next. Waiting for backup that never comes. Once you've finished off everyone, you have to wait for reinforcements to secure the camp. One issue with this is that the AI love to take their fucking time. You can actually track them live on the PDA map, and they walk the entire distance. The thing is, the whole faction war mechanic is happening live. Each member of a faction has an objective to complete, and that could either be them ambushing patrols or clearing out camps. So the reason why the AI take their sweet time is because they're currently occupied. Clear Sky's world doesn't revolve around the player. You're just another Stalker in the zone. This is what makes the world of Clear Sky feel alive. Random events happen in Shadow of Chernobyl, but not on the same scale as this game. In between these outposts, you will get a chance to sightsee some of the swamp's most beautiful creatures. There will also be anomaly fields that will contain artifacts, which is a good way to gain money pretty early. But don't get too distracted. You're supposed to be helping Clear Sky, you dickhead. Once you've gained a foothold in the swamps, it's time to take out their main base, which is actually a lot easier than it sounds because there's only a few bandits here to deal with, which is odd considering it's meant to be their base. Now that Clear Sky is safe, we can use a guide to leave this putrid place. Cordon is our next destination. Lebedev managed to gather intel on one of Strelok's crew members. He goes by the name Fang. It appears he's been snooping around the rookie village asking for some unknown tech. This is where we may be able to track him. And finally, we can find some peace here. The rookie village is the perfect spot to kick up your feet and get away from the horrors of the zone. We just have to go through this tunnel and... oh Jesus Christ, what fucking happened here? No, what the shit like that? That's an A94. What kind of A94 is that?
This fucks up my plan. This is fucking bullshit. Okay? These fucking assholes, these fucking assholes! The fuck is their problem?
Upon leaving this tunnel, you would think you were entering Cordon, when in actuality, you're stepping onto Normandy Beach. Set up guarding this entrance is an angry soldier who's out for blood. This ambush was obviously not playtested as it's almost impossible to shoot back or even run. But GSC do not care because fuck you, you're playing Stalker. You can backtrack into the swamps and go the long way round, but screw that, I'd rather brute force this. You can avoid being killed if you just sprint along this fence. Getting far enough, you will reach safety. This is where our good friend Sidorovich contacts us.
Away from the army. lucky devil. I've got a feeling there's a reason for you being here. Pop in and see me if you're in the area.
We meet him at his bunker to ask him a few questions, but in typical businessman fashion, he wants us to sort out Cordon before he answers any of our questions. Cordon is no longer a place for trading or for rookie stalkers. It's now a war zone. Sidorovich had a deal with the military that allowed him to smuggle things in and out of the border, but the loners thought it would be a good idea to pick a fight with the army. A losing battle, if you will. However, the loners have an ace up their sleeve. They have somehow managed to capture the commander, so Sidorovich sends us up there to resolve this conflict so that he can continue his business. On your way there, you will notice that it's rather quiet. This is because majority of the fighting is happening on the northern checkpoint. However, returning to a familiar area, we run into someone who we personally know.
We can't hold them! Hurry!
Don't shoot, Mama!
Wait, hold on. Yes, this is the exact same guy we were hired to kill in the first game, which raises a question. Who put a bounty on this guy? He deserted from the army, but I doubt they would give two shits. What's even funnier is that duty consists of deserters from the army. This motherfucker must have been so useless that not even duty wanted him. And they accept anyone. Talking to him, we learn some information about the commander. Turns out this lad escorted him to the loner's base and he ran away after he was kidnapped. He's now officially a stalker. But wait, Scar offers him a chance at redemption. We can convince him to join us to rescue the commander, but handing him a gun immediately causes him to blast us. Yeah, no wonder people wanted this guy dead. Meeting with the loner's leader, we find out exactly why they picked a fight with the army, and it's a pretty valid reason. The army at this specific checkpoint broke the deal the loners and Sidorovich made with them. Turns out, the commander has been feeding information to the bandits and by supplying them weapons, but worst of all, they sold a couple of loners as slaves. That's not very keynote of him. So the loners had enough. They picked a fight and managed to kidnap the commander. To end this conflict once and for all, they're going to use him as a bargaining chip to restore their borders and return to peace. A big problem with this, however, is that the commander isn't exactly the talking type. So we have a crack at intimidating him, which doesn't go down very well.
Laugh all you want. If you're here to find out where I hid the case with the loot, you're in for a disappointment. Go back to your beloved zone. My boys are gonna obliterate your pathetic posse soon enough. And as for your ringleader, we will hang him on the bridge so everyone can see what you get for messing with the military.
He even offers to buy our services to help him out. But unfortunately, that's not an option. We can only side with the loners with this one. In order to restore peace, we must help them wipe out the commander's closest allies. We can locate them at 2 different outposts, and they put up a pretty decent fight. After securing these compounds, we can go back to interrogate the commander, but after losing the people he was depending on, he breaks with ease. This is where he reveals the location of Sidorovich's cargo. The sneaky bastard hid it away so that he could sell it to the bandits, but returning it to Sidorovich, he gives us what he promised: information. He did in fact sell some electronics to Fang, but he didn't have everything he needed, so he suggested to him that he pays a visit to the diggers in Garbage. These are a group of loners who dig up scrap metal, old tech, and artifacts from the heaps of rubbish that surround the entire area of Garbage. And there's a possible chance that we can catch Fang in this general area. One problem though. Garbage is ruled by, you guessed it, bandits.
I just woke up in a fucking steaming mood, yeah? Because I live in a shithole! Do you know what I mean? Birmingham is a fucking shithole! I hate the fucking place! I fucking hate it! It's full of dickheads! I fucking hate it!
Welcome to Garbage, a place filled with absolute violence and chaos. This is where majority of the fighting will happen, and it will only get worse as you progress through the main story. But bandits are really your main concern right now. Unlike Shadow of Chernobyl, bandits are neutral to you in Clear Sky, but that doesn't mean you are safe. They will frequently rob you if you pass through checkpoints, and there's only 2 ways around this. You either kill them or join them. Now, if you think that's a terrible idea, well, you'd be right. Joining this faction will mark you for death by every faction later into the game. Right now, you don't actually have the option to join them yet as it would conflict with the story, but once you've reached Yantar, there will be an open position for you. Besides becoming an enemy to every faction, what else is bad about them? Well, they are the most under-equipped faction in the game and they are incapable of holding any ground, meaning you would have to become a one-man army. But also, good luck trying to fucking join them. After you've completed the main quest for duty, they will start to push into garbage from the west, which is right next to the bandit base by the way. When they get close enough, it sends everyone inside into a frenzy, including Yoga. Yeah, this guy is the leader by the way. And as far as I'm aware, this shouldn't be happening, because he can walk outside and get killed, completely locking you out of the bandit faction. If you are able to join them, there is one massive redeeming factor. Let me introduce you to their technician, the one and only man who is even capable of fully upgrading your saver suit. Now, want to know why that's hilarious? Because the bandits are the last faction you are able to join. So if you join a faction and you didn't know this, you will not be able to have a suit of armor that can equip 5 artifacts. This is what I meant when I said factions will influence your playstyle, because if you want to access certain equipment, you will need to side with a particular faction. For example, Freedom's Technician specialises in sniper rifles and precision weapons, but have limited upgrades for assault rifles and firepower type upgrades. Duty specialises in firepower and can fully upgrade assault rifles but not snipers. Bandits specialise in armour and the loners specialise in jack shit. Yeah, they're not very good. If you decide to join the loners before entering garbage, you will immediately become hostile to bandits, meaning you will have to fight through their first checkpoint, which is pretty easy. What the fuck? Clearing them out secures a foothold for the loners, and they will slowly start making their way into garbage to fight for territory. It seems they have some personal beef with the bandits. Talking with the bandit leader, we can find out that they are not only robbing every loner in the area, but they're also extorting the diggers. Since loners are a faction that like to stay in their own lane and not get involved with faction business, this war with the bandits isn't about land, it's about liberation. In Shadow of Chernobyl, we help fight off the bandits inside this very place. That's where we team up with the Trashmen, who are essentially diggers. Now, the faction war mechanic isn't completely canon. It did happen, but some were more victorious than others, and I will break down who exactly won where and who secured certain territories. In this case, the bandits lost here. They were driven out in Shadow of Chernobyl and scattered across the entire area. And for the others, well, I will get to that eventually. Searching garbage, we locate a group of dead diggers. Searching their bodies, we find out they have been in contact with Fang. Turns out Fang is trying to do them dirty by not paying them in full. So this group sent a messenger to discuss it with him. We can track his PDA and he didn't get very far. You can either talk to him about Fang or shoot him in the face for the intel, whichever option is more convenient for you. This information tells us that Fang went to the Dark Valley just east of here. This area is controlled by Freedom. Right now, they have this whole place in quarantine due to an unknown faction killing their men. But before we travel there, I must address something. I need to talk about the very moment that almost made me drop this entire video. Roughly about 14 hours into my playthrough, I suffered from a severe softlock. I was caught in the middle of an mission, with no shelter nearby. This caused me to be stuck in an infinite death loop that I couldn't escape, and this is where I want to complain about the emissions. Though when it happens, it's incredibly immersive and also quite terrifying, but my god, it makes no sense. I got a notification that told me that I could take shelter at the digger's hideout, but when you look at it, there's fuck all shelter, yet it somehow protects you. A shed is more effective than this. When I was waiting for the emission to pass by, I could see a whole duty squad just chilling out in the open, and they were fine. Right, okay. So this class is a shelter.
My best respect
and those
to
guys
an honest
are okay.
Man.
Like, what the fuck kind of logic is that? My immersion was completely ruined. But back to my softlock incident. Basically, I was fucked, and the only thing I could do was start a new save. Something that I wasn't willing to do. However, I did find a solution. 13 years ago, someone made a post on Reddit about a similar situation that I was in, and it was there where I found my saviour. T-Star Corp had a solution: save scumming. Let me explain. If you have saved just before you died, it will give you a 1-second window to move forward. Every time you move forward, just save again. See, when the game loads, the emission doesn't kill you right away, which allows you to move about a meter. I had to rinse and repeat this technique for roughly an hour. I eventually reached the loner space in Agropon. This was my reaction when I saved my entire playthrough. Oh my god, it fucking worked! It fucking worked! I spent over an hour doing that! And it fucking works! To summarise this situation, I hate the emissions. Let's go to the Dark Valley now.
I've got something to show you. Or should they stick it out for you to see? I don't have a microscope! Have you both lost your freaking minds? What is this, a dick measuring contest? Shut the hell up now!
Upon entering Dark Valley, we get a rude introduction. Freedom are very on edge, as they still have this place on lockdown, yet their squads are still being picked off one by one. Naturally, they want to know what our business is here. We tell them that we're a mercenary looking for someone, and Freedom sees an opportunity arise. So they send us to their base to go and meet the commander, as he thinks we will be able to unravel this little mystery of theirs. But firstly, he wants us to do some mundane tasks for him. Which is odd, but at least they're paying, I guess. The first assignment is to kill a mutant just outside the base, something they could have done with complete ease, but whatever. The second assignment is to deliver some ammo to a squad on the outskirts, and they're all dead. Investigating the bodies, we can recover a PDA that recorded a discussion from whoever killed these guys.
Shit, man. Way to screw up. What a rotten son of a bitch, that commandant. All that horseshit he gave us about how the outpost was out of ammo.
Turns out, the commander who gave us these assignments was actually trying to buy himself time. This PDA reveals that he's a rat and he's been feeding squad movements to mercenaries. For some reason, mercs have been entering Dark Valley from an unknown location just to kill Freedom patrols. Whatever their reason is, it's unknown at this point, but we can just assume that someone is paying them to do so, because they don't pick a fight unless they're being paid. I actually think the likely candidate is Duty, since Freedom is their main enemy within the zone. They're probably trying to distract them so that they can secure more territory. That would be my guess. We relayed the news back to the Freedom leader, and now he's seeking revenge. His first mission for us is to help a squad attack a mercenary outpost at the pig farm. This is where we will find the rat. They must recover his PDA so that it doesn't reveal any more information about their faction. Now, the mercenaries are not your ordinary faction. They don't partake in the turf war as they're currently busy carrying out jobs for their mysterious clients. Power is not their main motivator, it's money. So they will pretty much attack anyone if the price is right. After the fighting is done, we discover the rat's body. It seems he had exceeded his uses and the mercs tied up a loose end. But the mystery isn't over yet. Freedom wants to know how they're getting in. Since we've helped Freedom more than enough, the leader gives the coordinates to Fang's last location. And he's back in garbage. What a waste of time this was. Just before we leave, the leader requests our help one final time. He has located the exact location where the mercs are sneaking into Dark Valley, and he wants our help to destroy them. And interestingly enough, they're using the X-18 tunnels to get around, which is something I thought was a secret within the zone. This only builds up the case that the mercenaries know a lot more about this place than the common Stalker, as they were able to somehow gain access to it. We finally clean up this mess, and now there's an open slot for us to join Freedom in the near future. First, we need to track down Fang and find out where he headed off to. His last known location was right next to the digger's camp. Heading down into the basement, however, we catch a nasty surprise.
This place is pretty damn good. Look at all these stalkers charging in here like flies to honey. I wonder what they're after.
Nah, it's too bad that punk got away.
Screw him. He dropped his shit. That's all that matters.
Yeah, let's grab the best stuff and get the hell out of here.
Fang managed to get away, and we were completely robbed by bandits. They took absolutely everything. You can track them down and get your shit back, but what I did instead was drop everything I had on me before I went inside, and just picked it all back up once I got what I needed. It appears Fang has fled to Agropon down into their hideout. Based off his data, Strelok and his crew are getting ready to head back to the centre of the zone very soon. So Lebedev needs us to go down into the hideout so that we can get the exact location where they'll be meeting up. It's time to head into Agropon.
Fighting mutants!
In similar fashion to what Freedom was in, Duty is currently dealing with a mutant infestation.
Don't panic!
What, you fucking killed me! What the fuck? Which has caused them to cease all of their operations. We're exactly the kind of person they need right now, but the task they want us to do is a daring one. Duty have set up camp in the Agropon military base. This entire area was in control by the military in Shadow Chernobyl. So this led me to believe that Duty actually won the turf war in garbage and took control of Rostock. So once they had hold of the main hub in the game, they left this place behind because they didn't need it anymore. But that's just a theory of mine. Duty is the most armed faction in Clear Sky. You will quickly notice the kind of equipment they carry, and it's no wonder how easy it is for them to dominate. A lot of them wear exoskeletons and use very powerful weapons. This makes it really easy for them to take and control territory without your help. So for that reason, I think they're the easiest faction to fight with, but also the most boring one too, because they don't need you. Okay, no. Though joining them does give you access to some of the best gear in the game, including the Bulat suit of armor, PKM and any assault rifle of your choice. But before you can join them, we must sort out their mutant infestation. Snorks and bloodsuckers have been burrowing into this place deep and have created a series of tunnels that connect to the underground water facility. What they need us to do is to go down there and release all the water into the tunnels to flush them out. This will give us an opportunity to reach Strelok's hideout. Duty doesn't have any information on Fang, but this opportunity will allow us to get down into the tunnels. This place will be filled with Snorks, which are honestly a pain in the arse to deal with, but it's best to just run as this place is really unstable. It's at the centre where we will find a controller blocking the entrance. And while I fight this, I just want to bring up something that I noticed about this game. With the amount of humans fighting in this game, it made it feel like the mutants as a whole took a backseat in this entry. This made me feel like the horror aspect of Stalker was pretty absent most of the time. There is one brilliant section just a bit later that I really want to talk about because it's peak Stalker horror, but also there's some interesting content that was going to take place there that sadly was cut from the game. After defeating the controller, we can now turn on the water. This will completely flood the tunnels, which will save Duty from the current pickle they were in, but now this means they can enter the turf war, turning garbage into more of a shithole. Outside of Strelok's hideout is the worst kind of mutant however, bandits. How they were able to live down here with mutants is a mystery, but maybe they smell just as bad as them. Inside the hideout, we find a message that Strelok left for Fang. And oh wow, why does he sound incredibly young here?
This is Strelok. I didn't expect Doc to fix me up so fast. I heard rumors that someone has learned of our success and is seeking to contact us. I have a bad feeling about this.
This message at least tells us where they're heading. They will be going through the Red Forest. This area is dangerously close to the Brain Scorcher, so before they head there, they will be heading into Yantar to retrieve some cyber protection from Sakharov. This is where Lebedev directs our attention to Strelok, while Clear Sky focuses on Ghost and Fang. But before I carry on with this very important mission, I want to get involved with this turf war. So when it was finally time to choose a faction, I had to decide between Freedom and Duty. Duty had all the weapons they needed and could easily handle themselves, which saves me from having to listen to them cry for help on the radio.
Help, we're losing!
But Freedom, man. I did them absolutely dirty in Shadow Chernobyl, so it's fitting that I join them. As soon as you agree to join, they supply you with ammo, armour and a fancy SG. With all that equipped, it was time to spread freedom.
I've had enough of you! Feel the love, douchebag! No use hiding, we've been discovered!
Oh, we're so sick. Let me tell ya, I felt a strong sense of euphoria wiping out bandits. All the times they stole from me, pointed a gun at my face, and even shot me, led to this. Fuck the bandits. Me and the Freedom Boys secured garbage with ease. Until Duty showed up. Duty started to show the weaknesses Freedom had, and they started to lose ground around Agrippon. Freedom preferred to fight from a distance, but when it comes to holding positions, Duty just swarms them. Once I retook the footholds towards Agrippon, I thought it was time to take the fight to Duty. I went in and secured a foothold for Freedom, but I waited, and no one turned up. Of course, the game bugged out right here, and I was behind enemy lines all by myself. So, I took it slow and observed Duty's movements. And that's when I saw it. They were all leaving their base, meaning there was hardly anyone left to defend it. So, I took advantage.
Wake the fuck up, Stalker. We've got a faction to burn.
I stormed Duty's base with the hopes of killing their leader. It was a tough battle as they had exoskeletons defending the interior. Fighting my way up the stairs, I eventually reached the leader. And he's gone. So when I realised I can't wipe out Duty, I then turned my weapons against Freedom. I also stormed their base, but some of the NPCs just disappeared in front of me. I couldn't even get inside the main building. You cannot kill any of the leaders besides Yoga. This was my moment of realisation. Faction Wars is just a gimmick. The only use this feature has is to gather better equipment and make money. Sadly, Faction Wars plays no part in the actual story and it doesn't affect the ending. Oh well, it's time to move on. Our next destination is Yantar. It appears the ecologists have a bit of a zombie problem. The reason they are here is because they're trying to identify the source of a nearby emission. In this general area, there's been an unusual amount of emissions and they have detected that the source is nearby. They have identified a machine that may be the cause, but what they discovered is far more deadly. He's willing to give us information about Strelok, but right now he needs our help. We discovered that this place is actually X16. They had built a bioemitter inside which Strelok turned off. But in Clear Sky, we must repair the cooling system to prevent this machine from a meltdown. In order to fully understand what we're in for, we must retrieve some documents from a Stalker group that went missing. We can find them not too far away from here, and based off their PDA recording, they were caught in the middle of an emission. We bring back the documents to the doctor, and he identifies what exactly must be done. He forms a team that includes us to carry out this mission. Little does Scar know, he's about to become a saviour. Because if nothing is done about this cooling system, the zone would suffer from frequent emissions in this general area. We meet with the loner group just outside the lab and starts moving in. Holy shit. The sheer amount of zombies would make you think this mission would be impossible, but it's a good thing they can't aim for shit. The loners are also very capable of not dying, but the difficult part is yet to come. We take positions around the courtyard and one of them starts to work on the cooling system. Luckily for us, the potential chance for an emission is fairly low. However, there's still psi radiation lingering in the area. But that's the least of our worries. As soon as the repairs start, a countdown begins. Along with that is an infinite amount of zombies. No, I'm not kidding, the zombies will keep spawning in. And of course, the game bugged out for me. Because when I came back here a bit later, there were so many of them walking around, they didn't even despawn once the mission was complete. While the countdown's getting lower, so was my ammo. For some reason, the zombies have a lot more health in Clear Sky. and with how the guns work in this game, it wasn't exactly easy to land a headshot. With the repairs finished, it was time to get the hell out of here. No! With the repairs finished once again, it was time to leave. The professor manages to track Strelok's signal, and he tells us that he's heading straight for the Red Forest, the last place any stalker would want to go. Just before we head there though, there is something I wanted to bring up. Whilst looking online about this game, there was a certain discussion that I kept seeing. This game feels like a DLC or an expansion to Shadow Chernobyl, rather than a new game, and I will be honest, it's hard to disagree. It recycles a lot of old areas and weapons, and correct me if I'm wrong, but the PKM is the only weapon new to Clear Sky. Whilst there are new areas that do feel very unique, it wasn't enough to make Clear Sky feel like a brand new game, if that makes any sense. However, the upgrading system is great, though incredibly flawed. It does make Clear Sky feel like an RPG. It made me approach fights completely differently and created a whole new kind of challenge. It was one of the main reasons why I did multiple playthroughs of this game, just so that I could experiment with different guns and playstyles. The Turf Wars also gave factions a lot of personality. They all felt different to fight with one another, and it was cool to see factions play a bigger part in a Stalker game. Though Clear Sky can at times feel like an expansion, I do still think it's worth your time. It's interesting to see how the zone was before the events of Shadow Chernobyl, and I do love the fact that we get to see Strelok's journey to the centre of the zone. Oh shit, speaking of Strelok, the fucker's getting away in the Red Forest. Wait, that's meant to be Strelok? Now this location is special, because this forest feels like a maze and a death trap. Most stalkers require a guide just to navigate this place. Before we head into the woods though, we run headfirst into an ambush. Since Strelok is fairly aware he's being hunted, he's hired loners to stop anyone that follows him. Wiping them out, the BDEV contacts us. He's just lost Strelok's signal, and he's heading straight for the Brain Scorcher. But if we follow him there, it would be suicide since we do not have any side protection. Our only option now is to head into Limansk. This is an abandoned research city that used to be lost to the zone. Before the recent blowouts, this place was unreachable due to anomalies. But now, it's safe to enter. One big problem however, is that bandits took control of the one and only bridge leading into the city. So Lebedev tells us to get in contact with a man named Forrester, since he may know a way into Limansk. He's an expert on this land and he's been living here for years, but to get to him we must head into the woods. This territory is a stalker's worst nightmare. Mutants essentially own this land and you would be mad to head in there alone. The Red Forest just oozes atmosphere, especially when it's pitch black. You can just hear mutants move all around you. You can even catch glimpses of bloodsuckers in the night. Everything here practically wants to kill you. Anomalies, radiation, mutants, and even bandits. We find where Forrester is living, but it's gated off. A duty soldier will walk up to the gate, but he doesn't do anything, he just stares instead. So you know I had to kill him. What we have to do is head deeper into the woods and locate a certain anomaly. Jumping into it teleports you into the courtyard, and that's exactly where you will find Forrester. Unfortunately, he doesn't know any other way into Limansk other than the bridge, but he does raise one interesting point. The bridge was raised way before the bandits showed up, so there has to be some other way into the city that he isn't aware about. He recently picked up a transmission from a stalker group in the general direction of Limansk, but it's too weak for him to communicate. He's come to the conclusion that they're stuck in loop space. This is a unique anomaly where people cannot leave a particular area unless you go down a certain path. If we save them, they may be able to show us a way into Limansk. In order to find out exactly where they are, Forrester sends us to the military warehouse. The base there has an antenna strong enough to communicate with them, but one slight issue. The army is still occupying it. What the fuck? We can get in contact with a group of mercenaries just outside of it, and it turns out the stalkers that went missing were actually mercs. And Forrester's suspicions were right. The large emission has shaped time in a particular area, causing them to be stuck in some sort of loop. There's only one way we can save them. Forrester brings up one important detail that will be key to their rescue. A few days ago, he also got stuck in the very same anomaly. This loop effect was so strong that not even he was able to find a way out. That was until the Red Forest gave him a gift. It was an artifact he calls Compass. Forrester unfortunately lost it. Shortly after escaping the anomaly, he was robbed by some bandits. So we need to find it ASAP if we want any chance of getting into Limansk. We can find them inside an old abandoned mine, and they're pretty well dug in. This place is incredibly creepy, and there's a very good reason for that. There's this one particular faction that was set to feature in Shadow Chernobyl that oozes horror. They were going to be a group that was psychically controlled by mutants, and they were going to appear zombified but fully functioning. Within the zone, they were going to be referred as Dark Stalkers, and they attacked everyone on sight. This cult-like faction was called Sin. It was unfortunately cut from the game since they were far too similar to Monolith, which is pretty understandable. But what makes this place special? Well, in this Stalker Gamma mod, it restored a lot of cut content from the games, and this mine was turned into a base for the Sin faction. This was the perfect spot, and I wouldn't be surprised that this place was originally going to be their base. After defeating the bandits, it's here where we will find the Compass artifact. 50 grand. It's worth a nice amount of money and does essentially give you infinite stamina, but sadly we need to give it back to Forrester if we want any chance of saving that lost mercenary group. He will use the artifact to navigate this lost squad. But first, we need to turn on the antenna at the army warehouse. Now, if you're an enemy of freedom, I pray for you. This area is filled with them, and there's an explanation for this, one that I will get to shortly. Talking with the mercenaries, we explain the situation, but we also make a deal with them. If we save their squad, they will help us reach Limansk. One thing they won't help us with, however, is taking over the army warehouse. Their reason for this is that they don't want to fuck with the military. Fair enough. They do suggest that we get in contact with Freedom as they have their sights on this base. If you explore this area, you will notice a large group of Freedom members surrounding this entire base. This is because the soldiers within it were hit by a large emission, and only a dozen of them survived. They've sent out an SOS signal, but no one has come for them. They have been left for dead. Freedom are fully aware of their situation, and they've even attempted to negotiate with them. They have promised them a safe passage if they leave, but they are not interested in this offer, so they have chosen death. The outcome of this situation is shown to you in Shadow Chernobyl. They have full control of that base and are living comfortably. They moved away from the Dark Valley due to the fact that it was compromised. So instead of staying, they took the army warehouse, which absolutely pissed off some duty lads. When Freedom left, that is when Borov ditched Yoga and moved the bandits to Dark Valley. They left garbage because of the turf war. The idiots decided to set up shop right in the middle of it all, and that's no place to be when you're a slimy bandit. There's two ways you can go about taking this place. You either go in as a one-man army, or you bring a bunch of Freedom boys with you. Yet taking this place wasn't exactly easy. I decided to go in alone, because I couldn't be bothered to go back to Dark Valley to ask for help. Thankfully, I had my trusty VSS, which basically carried me to the ending of the game. But my god, for some reason these motherfuckers enjoyed eating armor-piercing rounds. After a few attempts, I successfully activated the antenna. The missing squad is now able to contact us, and Forrester sends them the coordinates.
We received the coordinates and we're going to try to get out of the bubble. Okay, left here, 60 feet this way. Oh dang, we're free! You hear me? We made it out of the anomaly. We're headed for Limansk.
Now that they're free, they will meet us on the other side of the bridge leading into Limansk. To my surprise, Lebedev and a Clear Sky squad are waiting for us. So I assume they managed to stop Fang, though that's actually a mystery that surrounds this game. Some say Clear Sky killed him, some say a mercenary was hired instead to finish him off, and some even argue Nimble did it. But that's a topic for Stalker 2. As for Ghost, well, in Shadow of Chernobyl, we found his body inside X-16, and we know it wasn't Clear Sky who killed him. I will be honest, this upcoming segment sucks. We basically have to cover the mercs while they lower the bridge, and I probably had the worst weapon for this job. Some cheeky snipers will pop out of nowhere and then kill whoever's on the bridge controls. If that happens, sometimes the other mercs bug out and take forever to take his place. Bandits eliminated, bridge lowered, job done. We are now ready to enter Limansk. This is the point of no return. If I was you, gather the best equipment you possibly can, make sure you have enough ammo, and please, for the love of God, pack at least 50, no 100 bandages, because where we're going is nothing but pain and misery. God damn it, man. If you thought Shadow of Chernobyl's ending was a painful gauntlet, well, Clear Sky is the very definition of hold my beer. This ending is not just one painful gauntlet, it's fucking 3. Limansk is a very interesting location. It's based off an old Soviet era town that used to house families of soldiers that were working around the Duga 1 receiver. You can even see parts of it in game. The town in real life was called Chernobyl 2. Looking at the images, you will notice that Limansk looks nothing like it. This is because around this game's development, the town that Limansk was based on wasn't open to the public, so they weren't able to get any references. Instead, they just created a fictional town using Ukrainian architecture from the old districts in Kiev. Limansk starts off pretty slow and quiet. We run into a couple of wounded bandits, which isn't a good sign. We presumed that the bandits had control of the city, but it's clear to us now. There's a third party. Oh geez, I wonder who that could be. This city, just like the Red Forest, is a death trap. Booby traps, ambushes left and right, and worst of all, the monolith are here. Not even 50 meters down the road from the bandits, the mercenaries are ambushed from the house next to us. We are told to go in there and clear it, but inside, it's true horror. They all have AS vows.
You need to shut the fuck up!
But believe it or not, that's the least of our worries. Destroying the ambush, we are safe to travel further down the road. But again, not even 50 meters from the last ambush, we walk straight into another one. We are now face to face with the monolith. Since the last blowout cleared a path to Limansk, Monolith probably wanted to plug this spot up since it's exposing the CMPP. And they brought some serious firepower with them, but it gets worse. Reaching the fountain, we get pinned down from multiple angles. This is where the leader of this squad tells us to make a run for it.
Mark, get out of here now! Don't waste your ammo!
He's sacrificing his group so that we can stop Strelok. We're now on our own. This is where the real challenge begins. In order to reach the next Clear Sky squad, we must fight through this construction site. Not only do I have to fight through multiple squads, but I also have to dodge numerous airstrikes. Limansk unfortunately suffers from the same issue that Pripyat had in the first game. A location that sounds cool on paper, only for it to be a painful gauntlet with zero exploration. Reaching the final Clear Sky squad, we make one final push to the hospital. And holy shit, this place sucks. I really don't know what to really say about this location other than it's miserable. It's just endless waves of monolith and even a military chopper, which you can easily cheese by peeking in and out of this doorway. This is why it's important to prepare yourself. Make sure you have the best equipment you can possibly get, because without it, it would make this segment almost impossible. So if you really care about your hairline, buy yourself a VSS. Oh yeah, and an endless amount of bandages. Finally, after all of that fighting, we make it to the centre of the zone, and things are really kicking off. Lebedev has also made it here too, and Clear Sky are viciously fighting back against the monolith. Whilst they distract them, he orders us to take care of business. Stop Strelok from reaching the very centre. I fucking hate this part. We basically have to chase Strelok through a large amount of portals to get a clear shot on him. Since he's wearing side protection, Lebedev for some reason wants us to destroy it. But he has a good reason for this. If an emission ever happens, he wants to make sure it kills Strelok. Clear Sky have brought their own side protection gear, so they won't be affected by any of the emissions, but that's only if it's a small one. What makes this fight such a pain in the arse is the large amounts of Molotov soldiers between us and Strelok. But don't worry, the B-Dev supplied us with an F-2000 with only 30 bullets. What a twat. I actually lost count of how many times I died in this fight. It was not enjoyable at all. What is it with these games making terrible finales? I blew most of my ammo and meds in Limansk and now I have to deal with this? This prototype Gauss rifle only tickles Strelok, so we have to hit him at least 30 or more times. I could be exaggerating, but that's what it felt like. It's hard to keep track of him too because he runs all around this place. That was until the game blessed me. Strelok bugged out and stood still for me. So I spent the next minute shooting him in the face. This eventually breaks his side protection. Now what Libidev wants to do is to wait for an emission to occur. This will no doubt kill Strelok. But is he forgetting something? Scar isn't protected. This motherfucker is about to get us killed. But the unexpected happens.
How are the readings? Any drop in the level of anomalous activity? Damn! I didn't expect anything like this. Anomalous activity is through the roof. But this zone was supposed to calm down.
His side detector is off the charts, and it's showing a power reading that he did not want to see. We are all fucked. The emission has just killed us all. The final cutscene of this game shows Strelok being converted into an agent of the sea consciousness. Sadly, there are no other endings. To be fair, that wouldn't make any sense since this is a prequel, but it would have been cool to see what if scenarios that weren't canon. I personally think that would have been cool. Clear Sky is not a perfect game. It was criticised for its bugs, gameplay, and even the story. When people say this was the worst entry in the franchise, I don't think they meant it was a bad game. It just felt weaker compared to Shadow Chernobyl. But I've got to say, despite this game being incredibly frustrating at times, I loved every minute of it. I will agree that it was missing some of the horror and atmosphere compared to the last game. However, the RPG elements of this game brought me back from multiple playthroughs and it was a joy to team with different factions. Clear Sky is a very flawed game, but it did innovate. Some of the features this game introduced are now a staple in the franchise and it pushed Stalker's gameplay to a whole new level. So, to conclude this video, I would say that this game is an underappreciated gem. If you are on the fence about trying this game out, I urge you to play it and go in with an open mind. Right, I need a fucking break now, Jesus Christ.
In actual fact, we have nothing to worry about. According to our research, the next emission will not occur for at least 2 months, 4 days, and 7 hours.
I didn't expect to see bandits here.
I must say, I have never seen anything like this before.
I've had enough of you! Feel the love, douchebag!
That's enough something for you!
No use hiding, we've been discovered!
Welcome back to the world of the living, Stalker.
An unidentified group of stalkers visited the center of the zone.
fill you in on the situation. You're in the Clear Sky base. Don't try to remember who we are. You've never heard of us, and there's a very good reason for that. If we could repair it, that would significantly reduce psi emission levels.
End your pursuit now, mercenary, or you will die.
We've done the impossible. We fought our way into the very center of the zone.